Welcome to the Backpack and Pushers podcast. Thank you for joining us. With me today is my co-host, Ben McAuliffe. How's it going today, man?
It's going good. A little sore. I got hit by an animal. Can you guess what animal hit me, Carl?
It sounds like you got in, like, not a car accident, but an animal accident. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we live in a pretty small community, and everybody's reaching out to me saying that my dogs were loose, and my dogs weren't loose. And so I found out they were my neighbor's dogs. And when I say neighbor, they're 7 miles down the road, and these dogs are like 5 miles the opposite direction. So these dogs traveled like 12 miles. Neighbors weren't going to get home till like 8:30 at night in the dark. And I'm like, I'll be the hero. Let me go rescue your dogs. Okay. So I drive down the back roads, get to the pasture where these dogs are. They're just laying, trying to guard these sheep. And I get out and I climb the fence over, and I call for the dogs, and they come running happy. And this is like my maybe second time meeting the dogs. Okay. And so as I'm down, like clapping and on my knees, bam! A billy goat just rams me and sends me flying. I get up in time to like run like a bull fighting clown up and over the fence. And the goat's just like sitting there, like wants no piece of me. And so one of the dogs snuck through the gate. I was able to carry him to my truck, and then we met and got the other two dogs. But guess where the dog wound up? That's in the back of my truck.
Back at his house.
No, it's in my goat pasture now. So
you stole the dog.
More or less, I think they gave it to me because they felt bad I got attacked by a goat, and we've been wanting a dog to protect our goats. And so we wound up keeping the dog, and they were very happy. Okay. But yeah, the owner gave me a hug, like, "Oh, you're taking the dog? Thank you." And I'm like, "What's wrong with this dog?" Because they're so happy.
You live in a very different place than I live. For those of you who don't know, Ben's job is a shepherd. So that's why he's talking about all these animals here.
Yeah.
Okay. Completely unrelated to our podcast title. I like the story. Don't get me wrong. We've got Alice Ford. She is a TV travel host. She is a backpacker. We're going to call her an ultralight extremist because she put out a video where she brought only her Daypack and stayed overnight in the mountains. So we've got her coming up on this episode. You ready for this?
I'd say she's an expert. Yeah. Alice the expert.
Alice the expert. All right. So this one is brought to you by Lighten Equipment. We have the honor of being the flagship podcast for Lighten Equipment. If you're looking for ultralight custom quilts that can help you get your base weight down, then go to enlightenequipment.com. And yeah, we're going to get to Alice here in a moment. But first, Ben, you got the Bible verse for the episode?
I do. It is 2 Corinthians 5:7. For we walk by faith, not by sight. I feel like every time we hike, we walk by faith sometimes, not by sight when we get lost. So, Carl, what's a time that you walked more by faith and not by sight?
Wait, are you suggesting that Alice got lost on her trip? I'm trying to connect the dots here.
Yeah, it's walking by faith. So sometimes, you're just kind of stuck and stranded, and you're like, all right, I got to go on because I can't turn back. And I think it's happened to most of us in the backpacking, hiking world.
That's a good question. Honestly, the story that comes to mind is from a few years ago where there's a guy who kind of shot ahead of us, and he got to our zone, like where we were going to camp around these lakes. But before I found him, there was all these areas that he could have camped in, and he was a newer backpacker, so I didn't know if he knew to leave like his pack next to the trail. And then there was this massive descent, and I had to decide, should I trust that if he camped up here, he'd give me some sort of sign, and should I descend? And this is like at the end of a long, I want to say like a 15 or 16 mile day. And so I descended. Wow. I was like, every step down the hill, I was like, please don't make me walk back up this hill. Please don't. And and thank the Lord, he was like around the corner and had already got like a fire going. It was one of the most beautiful backpacking sites. But I felt like I was walking by faith.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, you think they'd leave a note, or like not a note on the trail, but like sticks or something, like people will put like stacked stones.
Experienced backpackers would, but he was a newer backpacker, so I didn't know if he would know to do that. Okay.
Did you talk to him like next time leave stones, or?
Well, he didn't need to because he was. Okay. I mean, he literally like had. I just kept. He stopped in an inappropriate spot, basically. So I was just.
Gotcha.
I don't know. My own anxieties were playing out, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, it worked out.
I always make the mistake where if I'm going to go down, I'm like, I don't want to carry my backpack back up. So I'll leave my backpack up,
Right.
go down and check them, and then be like, now I got to get my backpack. So
Right. And you're still climbing back up, even though it's without the backpack. But yeah, I'm with you. So, but you know what? We're going to hear about Alice's mistakes, because I think that she regretted some of the decisions she made with her escapade, bringing, only a day pack, and what we can learn from her. And obviously she's got some stories to tell, because she literally travels all over the world. So we've got that coming up right now. With us today is a woman who's been all over the world. She's a risk-taking solo backpacker, a stunt woman, a filmmaker. Alice Ford, how's it going?
Good. How are you guys? Good to see you both.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on the show. Appreciate that.
Yeah, love it. One of my favorite Monday night adventures.
All right, Ben, I'm kicking the first question to you. What do you got?
Yeah. So Alice, what are you most famous for?
Oh my gosh, so many things. Mostly for being a stunt woman, but I'm also a YouTuber, filmmaker, and have a television travel show on PBS stations in the Pacific Northwest. So I love inspiring people to go out and do hard, challenging hiking, backpacking, exploring all over the world, a lot of national parks in the U.S. And people can find that over on my YouTube channel. And you can see me in movies and TV shows too.
Being a stunt woman, I know that that's kind of, I don't know if you want to call it your day job or whatever, but what's the biggest trail stunt that you've ever done?
Ooh, trail stunt. Trying to think if I've ever fallen down a mountain.
Like on purpose or as a stunt?
I mean, I do fall down a lot on my hikes. I mean, I don't try to, but at least I have loose ankles, so that helps.
Flexible ankles. So we had a guy on who's talking about how he watched the movie Cliffhanger, and he learned from Sylvester Stallone how to basically cross a crevasse, where he's just like, I have to have my ice axes out. Is that the kind of stuff you're doing?
Yeah, I've done a little bit of that, on Cotopaxi in Ecuador. And I've also done a bunch of Via Ferratas. So I don't know if we talked in a past episode about my trip to the Dolomites, but I did a bunch of, self-guided Via Ferratas in the Dolomites. And one was incredibly scary. I thought it was going to be cables and places to clip in the whole way. And it ended up being only a third of the way was had cables, and a lot of them had fallen apart or weren't there anymore. And it was extremely, it was one of the more challenging. So there's a rating system for Via Ferratas. And it was one of the more challenging ones. And I thought going into it, okay, cool. It's just going to be there's going to be ladders on the side of the rocks and more challenging terrain. But I didn't think it would be just devoid of any sort of safety stuff. So that one really scared me. And I almost didn't.
But you pushed on. You didn't see. You're like, there's supposed to be a cable here. It looks like there was one before. I'm not even a third of the way. It's fine. Just keep going, right?
At what point are you do I even want to clip into this cable? Because it's false security at that point.
Well, I'll tell you what, I almost didn't even start it, because I got to the bottom, and the first, just the first 30 feet was totally cliffed off. You could tell that there used to be a cable, and it was a total drop off 400 feet on one side, a really crumbly angled slope, and then there was one little handle, but you had to get to it,
right?
So and I was just terrified that okay, I'm gonna get there, and then there's gonna be nothing ahead, and I'm gonna be too afraid to go turn around, and then I'm gonna be stuck. So I thought that for a while, and I sat there for a long time, and then finally someone came up the trail, and I was like, "Are you doing the Via Ferrata?" And they were like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna follow you." And so I had a little courage from a stranger.
That's so right. Do you carry a in reach at that point where you I might have to hit the red button and
no, because I was actually only maybe a quarter of a mile from my hut that I was staying in there, and so I wasn't up the mountain yet. It was still the point of I could, not the point of no return yet, but had I made it to that first place to grab onto with my hand, that would have been in my mind the point of no return, where I would have been okay, well, I have to either keep going or die.
Right.
2 options.
That's okay. That's a good one. See, you did have a good answer for that. That sounds like a lot of trail stunts packed into one trip right there.
Yeah. But was that a stunt, or that was just an everyday hike, wasn't it?
That was an everyday hike in the Dolomites.
Speaking of all your adventures, you recently got back from Africa. Where did you go, and like what did you do on the adventure?
Yeah, I spent 12 days in Uganda, or Uganda, nice, as they say it there.
Yeah.
And I basically circumnavigated most of the country. So we road tripped from Entebbe, which is kind of the main place that you fly into, and then basically drove like to the northwest corner and then all the way down to the south, visiting a bunch of national parks. I spent an entire day on the Nile, which actually starts in Uganda, which most people do not know. And then went to see the chimpanzees, trekked out to see the chimpanzees, trekked out to see the gorillas, horseback riding with giraffes was really
awesome.
Wait, you rode on a giraffe?
No, I did horseback riding with the giraffes.
With the giraffes. Okay, and did you get your hands on the gorillas or the chimpanzees?
No, but 2 chimpanzees did like bum rush me right when we entered the forest. I was like, my God.
Yeah. Did you, now in Uganda, they don't not believe, but they don't really get sarcasm out there. So it's hard to communicate sometimes. Did you find that tricky when you like make a joke and they're like, what? Cause I've been out there and like, we were joking around, like, you know, just being Americans, and we're like, hey, can you take us across the street, you know, for a taxi ride? And they're like, sure. And they fire up their like boda motorcycle, you know, taxi. And yeah, you can't mess around with them. So I don't know if you had any of those adventures, but
I think more so it was just that, you know, like English is one of the main languages of Uganda, but most people don't really understand Americans, I think, when they speak English, because they're used to speaking their native languages. So there was a lot of, I think, that like kind of like, wait, I thought do you speak English or do you not speak English? They would like say a few words to you and you're like, oh, okay. But then you would ask something and then they would have no idea what you were talking about. We were on a riverboat cruise and my friend came with me to help me kind of like film stuff. And so we had been basically by ourselves the first like 5-6 days. And like we ended up on this boat with a bunch of tourists, several American women, and they asking the driver of the boat like questions and he would answer, and they like did not understand anything he was saying. And I would just be like blah 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 blah, and she was like I would answer for him. I would be like, let me tell you again since you don't get it. And then she was like, do you live here?
I speak English.
How do you know all this? How do you understand?
Yeah, right.
I was like, because I'm listening.
So you were like a fake tour guide, almost like an imposter tour guide on a boat, right? And I'm sure you guys are the same way when you travel and you see like bad Americans traveling. It really like irks me. Yeah.
I'm usually one of the bad Americans.
Yeah.
They're like yelling and that hippo's like my ex-husband. And you're like,
oh my gosh. And they don't get sarcasm, so they actually think like their husband's like that big, you know? Like
that's hilarious. Closest thing I had was when I lived in Australia for a year, and I made some of the best friends ever when I was down there. But I was constantly told that I wasn't a typical American. And then as part of like our church group, some other American guy came in for, I don't know, a couple meetings or whatever. I think he was like at a camp out or something. And he was a little bit more on the obnoxious side. And they're like, that's the typical American right there. I was like, really? Yeah. Not my friends.
We're all good, I swear. Yeah. You recently went on an overnight backpacking trip and brought only a Daypack. Why did you bring a Daypack? And what did you leave behind?
There's been this huge ultralight movement, right, over the last couple of years. And some people are super into it. I've never really been an ultralight backpacker, but that's because like I'm a filmmaker. So for me, it's like really difficult to go ultralight because I'm bringing cameras and I'm bringing batteries and a drone. And I also like to be comfortable and like have a pillow and not be cold at night. So for me, like those two things, but I also like in the vein of like, I always need to like challenge myself to doing something that's outside my comfort zone. And I wasn't sure. I was like, what would happen if I was hiking during the day, something happened and I had to survive overnight? how comfortable would I be with just the things that I bring in my day bag? And so I did add like a few things that are not normally in there, but what I brought was just like my normal first aid kit, water. I had like a sandwich that I had gotten in the town that afternoon, and like maybe one granola bar. I brought my water filter and a sleeping bag liner, and also my emergency bivy sack, which is like in my first aid kit. Not the sleeping bag liner, but the bivy sack is in my first aid kit, and it's like always in my backpack. And then I just wore like my regular hiking outfit, and I brought like the normal layers I would bring for like those conditions, which I think I had like a raincoat and like a fleece jacket and whatever I was wearing.
So you prepared to sleep. That's the problem, is you were prepared.
I don't. So the things that I brought that I would not normally have were the pillow and the sleeping bag liner. But it was still like miserable. And I had a hammock as well. So I had a few things, but like that's not normally what I would ever have.
You got to be comfortable when you're, pretending to be stranded overnight, right?
I mean, yeah, because sometimes I do have a hammock, and I know there's definitely like a huge crowd of hikers that carry a hammock, because I like see people all the time that are like in a national park and they're in the hammock by the waterfall, and they're just like
the hammock by the waterfall. That sounds very tempting to be like. I'm not gonna say it, but that's a dangerous place to be. Hammock by the waterfall. I'll just say that.
So that's what I brought. My backpack was super light. It was like the lightest it's ever been. And I would say like the one thing that I was like, the one great thing was the backpack weight. Because I was like, wow, it is so nice to not have my huge pack and be spending the night out in the woods. So that was really nice. But and if you've watched the video, because this video is on YouTube, like the night was miserable. It got down to maybe like high 30s, low 40s at night. And they ended up like putting my hammock like right by a lake, because it was beautiful. But that was probably the worst place for me to set up camp. Yeah. But because like obviously the lake makes it colder. So I was freezing and I was in a hammock. So like, of course, like you just have cold air everywhere. The bivy sack really didn't do anything. I felt like I was just like shivering for like 4 hours straight. And then you're like, and then you get wet from the condensation. So then you're like shivering and you're wet and you're like, cool, I can't wait for the sun to come up.
So, okay, but you had the hammock, you had the bivy sack, which is just like the little crinkly, like space blanket thing.
Tinfoil.
Yeah. And then you had the liner, and then you had your layers of clothes. And that was insufficient, you're saying?
Totally insufficient. Like, I'm a person that gets cold sleeping. So, like, when I go backpacking, I take I usually bring a top quilt, because that's, like, what I like for me. For it's just the most comfortable. I sleep at my side a lot. I have a sleeping bag liner that I always have with the top quilt, and then, obviously, a sleeping pad. So, and my top quilt, I think, is rated to, like, 0. Fahrenheit. So it's like really warm. And sometimes in that I'm cold.
Okay.
So yeah. So going out there with just the very limited supplies, I was freezing.
Is it because you brought one granola bar? Like if you brought another one, it would have gave you a little more like energy and prepared you for the cold, like,
Fuel. Yeah.
Fuel, yeah.
Well, I didn't have much to eat. So I had a half a sandwich basically before I went in my hammock. So I think, when you have a stove, you're like, oh, I can have something hot to drink or hot food or whatever. And so not having that either, I think definitely like puts your body in a harder place than it would normally be in if you had, hot food. Right. So, but it was nice not to carry my stove.
I carry Carl's stove for him, so he understands.
And it's so funny too, because when you have like your stove and you're cooking, there's like so much to do when you get to camp. And then I also was just like, what should I do with
it? Because you're by yourself, you're solo.
How many days of alone do you think you can make it now?
I'd be so bored. I think the boredom would kill me first. There's only so much you can do. Like I even like at the lake, I was like, oh, I built like a hanger. I hung my backpack and like all my stuff unhooked. I built like a little windshield on one side. I was like, I guess I could go try to find like bigger pieces of wood and like make more of a shelter.
It sounds like you're asking us a question, like Ben and Carl. Do you have suggestions for me when I'm going so ultralight that I've actually like cut down on my camp chores what's left to do, especially when you're going solo. Just off the top of my head, I'm thinking like you're next to a lake, so you got sand castles on the shore. If you're part of a group, or if you can weasel your way into an existing group, like we've done backpacking Jeopardy. So set up a games, and it's ultralight. It is not heavy to bring that thing along. We can teach you. Yeah. Ben, what do you got?
I was thinking like skipping rocks, building a fire, like looking for Sasquatch.
I wasn't allowed to have fire. It was a no fire zone.
Oh.
Okay. I guess I could have built a fishing pole.
Yeah, there you go. Bushcraft a shelter.
Try catching with your bare hands. Practice stunts, like falling down,
Practice
mountains.
Stunts.
Do you ever just like go backpacking and do like a judo roll,
That's
like,
right.
Are you like, I got to practice, haven't done this for a while.
In the winter, I definitely do that.
Well, for the sake of this episode, we're calling you an ultralight extremist, because if you're getting away like legitimately backpacking with a day pack and maybe like a couple extras, I think that fits the bill. So you kind of alluded to a couple things, but if you could sum up what you learned in your experience with 3 tips for other people who are inspired by you to be an ultralight extremist, what tips do you have for us?
I think definitely you need to figure out like what your like necessities are for comfort, and how it also depends on, I think, how many days you're backpacking too. Like obviously if you're doing an overnight, there's a lot of things that you can skimp on. Like my first ever backpacking trip when I did Long's Peak, I brought a sandwich and a thermos that already had coffee in it for the next day.
Right. That's a really hard hike, by the way. That's not an easy first overnighter.
I know.
People die on that hike every year.
I know. So like, I guess it depends. Like, are you someone that needs to be comfortable sleeping? Do you get cold, or do you have to have a hot meal? And I think like those would be like the main questions. I think once you figure that out, you can be like, okay, I don't need these things and I do need those things. I also think cutting down your first aid kit, depending on like where you're going, is always an easy way to like leave some weight out. Cause like my normal first aid kit is like 6 by 8. It's big.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've almost never actually used anything in my first aid kit outside of like tape and maybe like chapstick.
Chapstick's usually in your pocket anyways. It's not really in the first
True.
aid kit. So
yeah. So there's very few things I've ever used in my first aid kit. But like obviously on this trip I used my space blanket. But always have like your 10 essentials, but like pare them down. And then I think if you're someone that sleeps hot or doesn't need a lot of layers, like you can minimize the amount of clothes that you bring. You can also minimize what you're bringing for sleeping. Like instead of bringing a pillow, if you bring a teeny tiny stuff sack, you can put your jacket inside of that. So there's lots of ways where you can kind of skimp on things.
What if you have like 40 essential items? What do you do then?
The 40 essentials.
Well, this is what I do, because this is also how I pack when I go on trips. I literally take everything out that I think I want. And like I like, my boyfriend is always, you take like 4 days to pack. I'm like, I know, because I have to take everything out. I need to look at it. I need to pack it. Then I unpack it. And then I'm like, do I need this? No, I don't need that. That can go away. No, I don't need that. And then I repack it again. And then I'm like, okay, we're good. So I think, and I do that with my backpack, honestly, sometimes too. I'm like, do I really need that? I mean, I take an extra, normally, when I'm taking my big backpack, I will take like 2 of everything. I'm like, well, just in case this headlight dies, I should bring another one. Just in case this light for my tent dies, I should also bring a lantern. I've really gone from really overpacking to like really trying to get down to the ultralight, because I think for me too, seeing how these ultralight guys and gals do it, I'm always like, how do they do that?
Yeah.
How do they have so little? So I think that was really kind of the spirit of this video, to be like, do I really need all the things that I usually bring? No, I don't. I'd be fine with a little pop-up shelter, or maybe not even a shelter, a hammock and my top quilt, and that's probably fine.
If I could take an ounce of your packing enthusiasm, just like a scoop of it, and just give it to Ben, he probably shaved like 10 pounds off his pack. No joke.
Well, I brought coffee, enough for everybody, and like a coffee maker and 4 water bottles filled with water. So I had good water for the coffee. So I don't see what's wrong.
Yeah. That doesn't relate. We're talking about getting rid of stuff, and you're defending yourself, so that's not the same.
Oh, I know, because I couldn't get. I mean, it's essential.
A good water filter. You don't need any bottled water.
Well, when it comes to coffee, I don't know.
So you're talking about meticulously packing, and so Ben and some of the other guys that I go with, their strategy is, I might use one of these, I'll throw in the whole package. Like they'll just kind of, it's the opposite. They're just chucking stuff in. That's why I say, an ounce of your enthusiasm.
Right. Yeah. Like instead of bringing one granola bar, I would have just brought the whole box. Like, why not?
Right. All right. So you do a variety of videos on your YouTube channel. You go travel stuff, you go adventure level, you do all sorts of things. So I've got 3 YouTube suggestions for you. My question is, which one of these suggestions would you most likely make?
Okay.
And if you want to take one and make one, then we would be honored. All right, so here you go. 3. A solo backpacker invites one of her subscribers on a trip and has to talk to them and the camera. Can she do it? B, I find the most remote spot in the world and press the SOS button to see if it works. C, I backpack in Bigfoot country while wearing an apple necklace and holding a shaky camera.
Carl, are you a subscriber? I just want to ask.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be me. I'm just saying in general. Right. She's got 70,000 subscribers, or I don't know, 100,000. I don't know where you're at right now. A lot.
Probably C, Sasquatch with an apple necklace.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know, but the Sasquatch, they like the apples. They're attracted to them. So you're kind of creating yourself as bait, essentially.
I get a lot of Sasquatch enthusiasts on the channel. So
really? Wait, tell us about that.
We'll often ask in comments if I saw Sasquatch on my hike. So
no. So your video's on such and such trail in the Pacific Northwest. You don't mention Sasquatch at all, and that's a comment you get.
Yes.
Have you come close? Okay. Have you come close, though?
Hard to say. I mean, I'm sure they've seen me, but I haven't seen them. I mean, I've definitely had the hair on the back of my neck stand up while hiking and been like, where is the exit to this trail?
All right. So we have been doing this lightning round challenge with our recent guests, and we are going to give you 1 minute to answer as many questions as we can throw at you. Right now, the leader, is at 9. So answering 9 questions. We do I don't think this is going to be you, but we do anticipate at some point, we'll have a guest who doesn't even get through 1, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I don't think it's going to be you winning, so don't even try.
So the timer starts after Ben asks the first question. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Ready?
Okay.
All right. Coffee or sweet tea?
Coffee.
What's your favorite backpack?
My Shimoda.
Favorite knife?
Gerber.
What's your longest day ever on trail?
15 hours.
How many carabiners do you bring on a trip?
4.
Which mythical creature do you wish existed?
Unicorns.
Oh. Favorite place to travel?
Patagonia.
Which movie character is closest to your personality and life?
Lara Croft.
One item you have to bring.
Pillow.
What is 3 times 6 plus 2?
20.
Correct.
Favorite backpacking gear?
Anything that's cool.
Is Snickers an energy bar or a candy bar?
Candy bar.
And time.
Ooh.
You got a lot in there.
Wow.
All right, Ben, how many questions do you get?
I got 6.
And I got 6. You are the current leader at 12. Wow. Wow.
Right.
Not messing around. She's just answering questions.
She was
pausing.
quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. So have we decided what the prize is yet, Carl?
We got a care package. We'll get back to that later.
Yeah.
we still got some time, so we'll figure it out. But I think 12 is gonna be hard to beat, personally. So
yeah.
Ben, any takeaways from her answers?
Yeah, carabiners. Let's discuss that because it's a very popular, controversial item on our show. A lot of people are either for it or against it, and you bring 4, so you must really like carabiners.
I do love carabiners. They do not only make you look cooler, but
well, we can disagree on that. Okay.
There's a theme of coolness going on with her answers too, by the way.
They just make you look more legit while you're on the trail. Like, ooh, are you? Ooh, you must be really experienced. That's right. I have a carabiner.
You're like swinging it around like,
hey. You must be really experienced. You have a carabiner is one of the best lines ever on our podcast. Oh my gosh.
You're welcome.
Because I think we said the opposite, right? We're like, who's bringing carabiners? Apparently everybody except for us.
Well, because we actually said they want to be wannabe hikers. Like they're like, look at us, got carabiners. We're like pretend to be hikers. So yeah.
But I think I saw you had one on your shoulder strap that was connected to your camera, right?
Yeah, I connect one to my camera because like a lot of people use that that like camera capture clip by Peak Designs. I find that that's like not the sauce for me. So for me, I connect it to a carabiner and I have it in the little key ring on the side of my camera, and it's much more easy for me to get it on and off. And then I like, depending on the backpacking trip, I'll put all my batteries and camera accessories in a little bag and I'll carabiner that to the outside of my backpack. So it's like an extra fanny pack, so to speak, that's just like hanging on the side or on the back. And I can just like reach to the back and grab it and pull it around.
So it's just sitting there like going back and forth while you walk and just annoying everybody.
Well, I usually, but I have like two. So I do like one on the top, one on the bottom. So it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
All right. So you mentioned that you would like to have a unicorn exist, but you refuse to ride giraffes or hug orangutans when you had the opportunity in Africa. So what are you going to do with a unicorn?
I don't know. Look at it.
You're very popular on YouTube, on TV, just wherever. But if you want to up the views exponentially, you got to get your hands on these animals here. Like that'll definitely up the game.
Yeah.
Just like humble advice from somebody who doesn't know any better.
Just start wrangling them. Ostriches are very popular to try to capture. So bring it back to backpacking. What's the biggest solo backpacking mistake you've made, and then how did you overcome it?
We talked about a few, but yeah, overall, whether it's as an ultralight extremist or not.
I think probably backpack fit, how I arrange things in my bag. Like that took me a while to kind of like get down so that like it's comfortable, because, as you guys know, like if you put depending on how you arrange things with heavy and light and stuff, it can really like affect how the bag feels on your pack. And, I think Carl knows this. A couple years ago, I had a shoulder surgery. And since then, I have like my collarbone has like a bone spur in it, basically. So like, and it's right where my backpack sits. So now like it's uncomfortable for me to have my, like a lot of different backpacks. And the backpack that I used to like the best, which was this decathlon bag, now that one like really hurts. And for anyone that's watched my channel for a long time, they've seen me with a variety of backpacks. Sometimes I have a backpacking backpack, and sometimes I have my camera bag that I took on Long's Peak, and I had like nothing fit inside the bag. So everything was just like strapped on the top. It was a mess.
There's like 20 carabiners just holding the pack together.
Probably like the mesh cargo net from my truck. Yeah.
It just sounds like you need to invent the biggest fanny pack ever and just have that. Like that would solve your problems.
I need like the ultimate cargo pants or something. Or like one of those fishing vests where you just like, it just like holds more and more.
You're giving me ideas for videos right now, just like how to backpack without a backpack, basically, right?
That'd be actually pretty good.
That's actually a really good idea. Okay, fishing vest, cargo pants. What is the capacity of those two things combined? Is that enough for like 20 liters worth of stuff? I don't know. Ultralight. All right. Okay, so for those who haven't seen you on TV or on YouTube yet, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at Alice Ford Adventures. And then I'm on KSPS in the Pacific Northwest. My next season starts in January, so if you live up in that area, you'll see it on KSPS in January.
We'll have links in our show description, but so can we look forward to, some videos you got upcoming about your Africa experience? Is that what's coming up next on your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so Uganda came out yesterday. So if anyone wants to watch that, it's a longer episode. It's about 35 minutes. the whole experience, all 12 days. So you'll see chimpanzees, gorillas, lots of giraffes and elephants. It was a really amazing trip. And then next video coming up is going to be from my stay with the indigenous tribe in Tanzania. They're the last hunter-gatherers in Africa.
Oh, wow.
I spent 5 nights out in the bush with them.
Oh, wow.
So it was a really interesting experience. I went hunting with them, gathering for food. And
wow.
I want to watch that one for sure. That's really interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Do they have hammocks by any chance?
No, they sleep just usually kind of out in the open. They have like little kind of enclosed areas where they sleep that are a little bit more protected. And then there are some huts that they sleep in during the rainy season. So we had hyenas in camp like 2 nights in a row. So
wow. Were they scheming with a lion to do some bad stuff?
I was trying not to make a Lion King reference, Carl. I was like, Carl's gonna get mad if I make a Lion King reference right now, and he goes and does it.
Yeah, and an really interesting thing about the hyenas is that these people, like when someone dies from their village, they'll put the bodies out in the bush, and hyenas will eat them. And so they couldn't kill the hyena when it came to camp because to them, the spirits of their ancestors are in the hyenas.
Okay. Wow. That is crazy. Well, I'm looking forward to these videos for sure. Alice, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. It is an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time and joining us.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. It's always fun to come and chat with you guys.
All right, Ben. Man, Alice, so much fun to have on the show. Always an honor and pleasure to have her on the show. What did you think? Takeaways, thoughts, things we learned here?
She's been everywhere. Like every time she talks, she's like, "Oh, when I was here, when I was here, when I was here," and I'm like, "Wait, I want to learn about that place and that place and that place," but we don't have like 4 hours to unpack everything. So it was good. First time meeting her, she definitely has been everywhere.
Right.
So it was good. How about you?
Yeah, when I was doing kind of my ideas for like what she could have on our YouTube channel, I thought of that. I was like, she's been everywhere, so I can't say, petting penguins in Antarctica because she's already had that opportunity. So
Right.
I don't know. So she did cheat a little bit with her overnighter because she brought some things that typically you wouldn't have in a day pack. Like you're not going to typically have that unless you really think there's a risk that you're going to be spending the night out. Maybe you're taking a really long hike and you're not sure about your fitness or something like that.
Yeah. Just taking a nap.
or a nap. Some people do that, right? But for the most part, I think that's what happens though, is if you end up getting caught out in an overnight, I think you're going to be cold. Like you're just going to have a cold night.
And I mean, she's going to do a fire, but she's by a lake, maybe there's shelter elsewhere. She was on a hammock. So it sounds like some of that she just didn't think through. Like it was like, oh, it's beautiful. I want to get the glamour shot here. And then regretted it at like 3 a.m.
Yeah, which is fine. Like everybody makes that mistake. But
yeah,
wouldn't you agree if you're really suffering, if you're really cold and you're in like a fire ban zone, but it's kind of life or death, wouldn't you just carefully make a fire?
I don't know if I would. Being in Northern California, there's been a lot of fires in the fire
you'd rather
season.
die than make the fire.
But
saying.
I think if I'm like miserable and awake, like maybe I would just try to start walking. Like if I knew there was a trail, maybe, and that's probably stupid because you're going to get lost. But if I'm already lost, like at least I feel like I'm doing something. So I don't know.
Wait, now you're adding to the scenario. I'm gonna get lost, but maybe I'm already lost.
Yeah, I don't know the scenario that like I'm stuck. Like but if you're up, maybe I just find a landmark and just like, all right, I'm gonna just keep walking that way or put a point on my compass and go that way. But yeah, I don't know. But the pillow is something that surprised me.
I said carefully make a fire. So I think if it's life or death and you're not sure where you're going, you don't want to get further, more lost, especially if you're off trail, maybe you lost the trail. I think that you just make a campfire. And then if somebody catches you, they're like, we got you. You're in trouble. You're also saved because now they found you. Right?
Right.
You're lost.
And then you get 3 hot meals being in prison. So it's good.
In prison for making a safe fire.
Yeah.
I guess during I don't know what it is in California. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Do they imprison people in California still?
This might be too controversial. I know they don't in Oregon.
You can steal cars. Like that's allowed now. Yeah. You can stealing cars is allowed, at least in Northern California. Oh my gosh. I know it's controversial. Sorry if that offends anybody. But that's what I know somebody who's had their car stolen twice and that person did not stay in jail. So that's how it goes.
Didn't know that.
Oh my gosh. I think that's happening in Colorado now too. But anyway, all right. We got trivia. We got day hiking trivia coming up right after this. The trail is calling your name. Are you ready? Are you really ready? Our good friend Rowan from Summit Strength can get you trail ready. Rowan uses rock-solid evidence to design a specialized training program just for you. There are plenty of cookie-cutter programs out there that will get you only halfway up the mountain. Make it to your adventure summit with Summit Strength. The link to your success is always in our episode description, but you can check out all the information you need at summitstrength.com.au/online. It's time to be strong and pain-free for your next adventure. Day hiking trivia is brought to us by Teton. And as I mentioned, we got a giveaway from Teton. It's the Signal 65 backpack. I'm going to tell you all about that in the tidbits section. But yeah, you have an opportunity to win that this week. All right, here we go.
All right.
You ready for this, Ben?
Always. Other names?
Always.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I forgot the name
question. Darn it.
Dang it. No, there's not
okay.
one. I blew it.
Wow.
All right. Number 1, which of the following is not one of the 10 day hiking essentials? A, sunscreen, B, lip balm, C, matches, or D, waterproof jacket?
For day hikes, probably the matches, because you don't really need those, right? Because you're day hiking. I mean, if it's my backpack, I wouldn't need anything because I don't bring backpacks day hiking. So we'll go with matches.
Okay. Matches is incorrect. An emergency situation that we literally just talked about where you might want a heat source, you want to have some matches. So it is lip balm, not an
lip balm.
10 essential. Yeah.
For a day pack? So you'd bring matches on a day hike.
I think the 10 essentials are weird, but so I'm just telling you what's typically in the 10 essentials. I'm not telling you what I
Where'd you get this? Like 10 ridiculous essential items you need while you're backpacking? Is it .com or what? Like,
it might actually be that. You're correct. Yes. 10 essential. Right. If you look at any 10 essential list, they have a heat source. Matches. So.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah.
Too bad. Number 2, true or false? A day hike can last 23 hours so long as you don't stop to sleep.
Oh, I would think so. I mean, you're continuing to walk, so yeah, let's go with that. True is correct. Yeah, technically 24 hours in a day. So if you're just hiking constantly for 23 hours, that works. And that's what I was thinking. But then I'm like, well, this is Carl. He probably is like, no, Ben, actually days from sunrise to sunset. So you're wrong. But no, you actually were fair this time. So thank you.
Yeah, you're fair this one time. Number 3, which of the following is not part of a fake ranger's outfit when day hiking? And I'm not talking about you playing the fake ranger. I'm talking about the people that we encounter on the trail who legitimately look like rangers. Okay? All right, so which one's not part of their outfit? A, olive or tan colored clothing. B, pants instead of shorts. C, a wide brimmed hat. Or D, trail running shoes?
I would think trail running shoes would be part of it.
What would you think they would be wearing instead?
Boots. Like hiking boots, right?
Correct,
yeah.
Ben. You passed trivia. Congratulations.
Woo.
Yeah, they're not wearing, they're typically wearing over aggressive boots that maybe you could wear mountaineering. They're wearing on the trail. So if that's you, we come across these folks all the time. Ridiculous. If that's you, it's time to mix up your outfits. Just saying. or check for permits.
I think people should send us pictures of them in their hiking fake ranger outfits that they think are
real. There was one we came across in Teton National Park where like a bunch of people just look like fake rangers. Like they actually have the name badges and everything. And then I was like, okay, you guys aren't rangers. There's something going on here. They're like, oh, we're like official volunteers. So they get a pass.
Okay, so they're sworn in rangers? Like they do that?
Volunteers are not rangers. Those are not the same thing, right?
I don't know, but if they're sworn in, right? Like how
you're making up stuff and then asking me if that's legit. I didn't say sworn in. What are you talking about?
You're like, they're rangers, but they're volunteer rangers, right?
I didn't say. I said they had name tags, but they're just volunteers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So they weren't nothing. You were talking about rangers, and like, I saw volunteers that were rangers, and so yeah.
All right, I'll go back and listen, but I'm pretty sure you're making up stuff and pretending it's real. So I'll check. A couple tidbits. First tidbit is we got a recent review by Darcy. Thank you for the review. If you would like some B&B stickers sent your way, please reach out with your address. Thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it. And then it's time for the Signal 65 backpack giveaway. You ready for this?
Ooh, I'm ready.
Okay. So I got the description for you to kind of for the build up here. It's the innovative AccuFit back panel combined with the wishbone waist belt allows for customability to your body like you've never seen, ensuring a perfect fit every time. So it's very customizable, adjustable. So they say don't spare a second worrying about your gear. The Signal backpack has you covered with its durable coated fabric and built-in rain cover for complete water resistance.
Oh, I thought they were going to like, don't worry about your gear. You can fit it all into our backpack. I was like, oh, this is my backpack.
That's right, without carabiners. No carabiners allowed.
Right. No carabiners
required.
needed.
All right, Ben, we didn't actually talk about this, so I'm putting you on the spot here.
Okay.
So, what we've done so far in order to win is you had to have like left us a review on Apple. You had to have commented on a YouTube video. What do we got? How do they qualify for this giveaway?
Oh. I like pictures. Like I'm one, and we haven't got that yet. So I think on the Facebook or email, however you want to send us a picture of you backpacking, and we'll put it up on one of our upcoming YouTube channels. We'll just have a random picture show up, and maybe we won't even explain it. It'll just be there, and you can tell all your friends you're on a podcast. So,
so you're saying that they have to be willing to have their picture published on one of our socials.
Yeah. For sure. Okay. And one person did milk and cookies while they watched us, and I'm fine with that. Like if you just want to do a random picture, but I think send us a picture. Send us something fun.
You can't go back on your criteria. It's got to be backpacking.
Okay, backpacking. Let's go. Backpacking picture.
The more fun, the better. It doesn't have to be like a ridiculous picture or anything.
Yeah.
Could be like epic.
And then we will pick the winner, and then we'll criticize why you need it because you'll be showing us your backpack, and we'll be like, oh, yeah, you need a new backpack. So it's good.
So the winner will have their picture meticulously taken apart and judged by Ben and I. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, for sure.
That's fair because I just posted... A couple weeks ago, I posted a picture of your backpack from the last trip with all the ridiculous things you had on the outside. It wasn't even on the inside of the pack, but on the outside of the pack. Right. Like that was sufficient to be able to judge your pack. So now you got to be, I don't know, we may not even be able to see your pack, but we'll figure something out. So, all right. So send us a picture. You got a week. That's all I got. You got anything else?
No. Just remember, you can do your own stunts when no one's looking.
Have a great week and God bless.